Thanks for coming. Sorry for the wait. My name's Vance Dunbar. I'm a Waterways Conservation Officer with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. This is Bob Morgan. He's a biologist for the non-game unit, and you specialize in?
I do a lot of different things.
Okay.
I'm the conservation planning biologist for the agency, and I'm also the lead AIS, or aquatic invasive species ecologist for the agency.
Tonight we're going to talk about turtles. Obviously you're sitting here, so you want to hear something about it. Who here is afraid of turtles? Who's afraid of turtles? I didn't think I'd see any hands. If I asked that question at the snake station, it would be a little bit different. I'd have at least a couple hands up. Nobody's afraid of turtles. Everyone loves them. There are 250 species of turtles in the world. How many species of turtles do you think we have here in Pennsylvania? 10, 13. We've got 13 different species of turtles in Pennsylvania. Out of those 13, 7 are protected. All the turtles are protected, but 7 have a protection restriction where you can no longer catch, molest, keep at all. For instance, wood turtles and box turtles. Of the parental group in here, how many of you used to catch box turtles when you were little? Anybody? I did too. No longer allowed to do that. Anyone who catches turtles in Pennsylvania who's over 16 needs to have a fishing license. When you buy your fishing license, in the summary book they give you, there will be a listing of all the protections for all the turtles in the state. Okay? 13 turtles in Pennsylvania. Out of those 13, only 2 spend the majority of their time on land. What 2 turtles spend their time on land? They're both found here in this county, in this area. One looks like this, box turtle, and one looks like this. Any takers? Any takers? Anybody seen one of these before? It's a wood turtle. It's a wood turtle. Box turtles and wood turtles. Those are your primarily terrestrial turtles. Every now and then I'll get someone throw out snapping turtle. Snapping turtles are aquatic turtles. They spend all their time in the water except for when they come up on land to lay their eggs. When they come up on land to lay their eggs, they become a little bit defensive. I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about snapping turtles. First, let me do a little bit of Trivial Pursuit. Why can't we keep box turtles anymore? Any idea? They're a specialist. A box turtle is the longest lived turtle in Pennsylvania. They can live to be over 100 years old. Over 100 years old. And they spend that entire time, that entire lifetime, in an area the size of 1 to 3 football fields. 1 to 3 football fields. If they move outside of that range, if you were to catch one and take it home, get tired of it, which you will do, and release it out in the backyard, it's like taking great-grandpa and dropping him off in the Himalayas. He's going to be completely discombobulated. He's going to die. That's why we don't pick up box turtles anymore. The biggest threat to any turtles in the state is habitat loss. Very little we can do about that. As far as collection goes, we've set up one of the most stringent conservation packages in the northeastern states to protect these guys, to keep them around. A little bit of Trivial Pursuit on box turtles. Actually on all turtles, but box turtles are kind of special. Who knows how to tell a boy from a girl turtle? Huh? You can tell by the tails. You can tell by the eyes with a box turtle. And you can also tell by the plastron. Turtles are really simple. Turtles work. Turtles have been around for 200 million years. 200 million years. As a frame of reference, man has only been around for about 4 million years. Turtles are a very simple animal, and their systems work. This is how they're designed. A and B. They've got a top, they've got a bottom. The top is called the carapace, the bottom is called the plastron. All right? And they've got a hinge in between, a hinge of cartilage. Inside of here are all their muscles and tissues. Their spinal cord runs from their head right down through their tail. Now, if you look at a turtle, and you look at it sideways, you look at the plastron, male turtles will always have a concavity. Well, let's look at it a little bit better. This one's obvious. Male turtles always have a concavity. They have a dent. Female turtles have a flat belly. And that's for mating purposes, like a jigsaw puzzle. That's how they fit together. All right? Another way you can tell males from females, males always have longer foreclaws than females have. Male box turtles have red eyes. Females have yellowish brown eyes. And you can look at the tail on turtles, and tails are, regardless of whether they're aquatic or they're terrestrial turtles, the sure way to tell a male from a female is to look at the tail. Females always have their anal vent, which is a little hole they do their business out of, even with the trailing edge of the carapace. Males have their anal vent further down the tail. All right? Now I'm going to pass these around. You can take a look at them, play a little jigsaw puzzle. Just don't drop them, throw them, or keep them. That's all I ask. Same thing with the wood turtles. I got one male and one female. This is as big as a wood turtle will get. This is an older turtle, okay? And the concavity, an older, larger turtle, concavity is much more pronounced in this male than it is on that box turtle. You know how you can tell the age of a turtle? Anybody know? Same way you tell the age of a tree. Pass that around. When turtles are born, all of their scutes are the same size. These scales on the back, they're all the same size. This was a baby painted turtle. You can look at his scutes. He comes around. In the spring and summer, they grow. In the wintertime, they're inactive. So what you do is you find the smallest scoop and you count the number of lines that radiate outward. Okay? When they're inactive, you get a dark line. So you can tell how many years they've overwintered, how many times they've overwintered. Just like a tree, you can tell the good years from the bad years by counting the rings. Now, talk a little bit about my favorite turtle, which is a snapping turtle. Snapping turtle is an aquatic turtle. It's the largest growing turtle in the state. It grows to a weight of, how much does he weigh? 55? How much does he weigh? About 80? The largest recorded common snapping turtle weighs more than this young man right here. 85 pounds is the largest recorded common snapping turtle ever caught. On average, a common snapping turtle will get a weight of about 20 to 40 pounds. And this is how big they get. Now, 14 and a half to 15 and a half inches in carapace length and similar dimensions in width. Oftentimes I hear people say they saw a snapping turtle as big as a wheelbarrow. I saw one as big as a wheelbarrow. I call that shock value. When you see them in the water, especially if you're walking around without any shoes on, they look much bigger. This is how big they get, and this is an exceptionally large turtle. A turtle this size could get a weight of about 85 pounds. Thing is, when you look at the plastron on a common snapping turtle, it doesn't cover the whole belly. It doesn't cover the whole belly like a wood turtle or a box turtle does. All right? That's why they won't survive. Yeah, that's why they won't survive on land. They need to be in the water, and this needs to stay moist. Okay? When they come up on land, they are literally fish out of water. I'm not going to pass this one around, but you get the ideas. Now, snapping turtle has a Latin name. Just like we have a Latin name, we're Homo sapiens, right? Rattlesnake, Latin name, Crotalus horridus, the horrible rattlesnake. Common snapping turtle, Latin name is Chiledra serpentina. Any guesses what Chiledra serpentina means? Snake-like swamp thing. Snake-like swamp thing. Snapping turtles are as close as we're going to get to having dinosaurs in our backyard. This is a young one. However, it's about breeding age. Okay? It takes 5 to 7 years for a snapping turtle to get to be breeding age. Okay? They have to have a carapace length of about 8 inches. So this one here is probably somewhere in the neighborhood, maybe 6, 7 years old. Probably 6, 7 years old. It's a male. Okay? That's how you tell. Well, another way you can tell with a snapping turtle whether it's male or not. If something comes out, then it's a male. Now, with a snapping turtle, when they come up on land, it's generally a female. And females, these guys mate in April, usually April, May. In May and June, the females will come up on land and they'll travel a distance of up to a mile away from the water to lay between 10 and 100 ping pong sized eggs. These are pickled, they'll never hatch. Generally, they go back to the same area that they were hatched out in. The same area, give or take 10, 20 yards. It's usually a sandy area, a loamy area, a sawdust pile, some place that they smell. They go up there, female will dig out an area with her foreclaws that's about 7 inches deep and as wide as her carapace. And she'll lay the eggs in place, cover them back over, and she's done. That's the end of her parental care. Hopefully those eggs will hatch out. 81 days incubation time for those guys to hatch out. Usually they hatch out right around Labor Day. So if you're looking out for babies, you want to make sure you don't run them over when you're driving these roads. Watch out around Labor Day. They'll usually hatch out on a full moon or a nearly full moon after a light rain. Okay, they're walking barometers. They're attracted to the brightest light. That's why they hatch out like that. It's worked for 200 million years. Now the brightest areas are roadways. Okay, and the reflection of your headlights. So around Labor Day, watch out when you're driving in areas like this because there might be baby turtles out on the roadway. Now here's an interesting fact too. When those eggs are laid, they're neither male nor female. When the eggs are laid, they're gender neutral. It takes 81 days for them to hatch, right? Depending on the temperature of the nest, it depends on whether they become male or female. The eggs that are incubated at a temperature under 56 degrees become males. And the ones that are incubated at a temperature above 59 degrees become females. Which makes sense, right? Because females are hotter. Now, when you handle snapping turtles, May or June, when you see turtles moving across the road, they're females. They're pregnant. You don't mess with pregnant women, you don't mess with pregnant turtles. Now, we do encourage you to move the turtles off of the roadway, okay, so they don't get run over. There's one safe way to move a snapping turtle. Some people say God gave snappers long tails a handle. That's not true, because the spine, remember, runs from the head right down through the tail. And if you grab it like that and hold it, you're going to break its spine. You might be able to get it off the road, but two things. One, that head's going to be somewhere you don't want it to be. And two, it's probably going to crawl off and die. Okay, so what I want you to do is think of a snapping turtle as you would a weapon. Okay, that's the business end. Okay, this is the end you grab onto. Use gloves, they've got sharp claws. You grab it, or just wrap up your hand somehow. You grab it, there's a hollow space between the carapace and the rear leg. Reach down there like you mean business. Flip it back on your palms. Keep that business end up and down range. Move it in the direction that it was traveling across the roadway. In that direction, set it down, and then be done with it. Don't put a stick out there to see if it'll bite through the stick, because maybe it will, but maybe it'll break its beak too. So just be humane and move it this way. All right, on to you.
The turtles that you see in front of you are roughly organized according to how aquatic they are. So the more aquatic turtles pretty much start down here, and then you move up to the more terrestrial turtles over at this
Don't
end.
take this out. So take a look at it. Don't put it in your mouth.
One of the rare species that we have is the spotted turtle, and I think you kind of get the idea where it gets its name. Covered with spots. Becoming increasingly rare. We're keeping an eye on them right now, on their populations, and we may have to actually list them sometime. Habitat loss and a few other factors are really cutting into their numbers now. Okay, that's spotted turtle. Vance talked about wood turtle. That's a baby one, little tiny baby one, and the big guy's up here in a large cage. Okay, and of course, every time you pick up a turtle like this, they close up so nobody can see anything about them. This one, I want to bring to your attention. This is a red-eared slider. I should have Vance's gloves on. In fact, I should show Vance's gloves on. Red-eared sliders are one of the invasive species that we have in the state now. They came primarily from people letting them loose from captivity. Some of you may be old enough to remember the days where you went into a store and there were cute little hatchling turtles in the store with a little red ear, and they were just as cute as could be, and you had to have one, so the folks bought you one. They were only about this big. Inevitably, they sold you a plastic bowl that had a fake plastic palm tree in it. And I see heads bobbing. And they also gave you a can of dried ant eggs. Well, these things, for the most part, people would get them home when they were tiny like that. People didn't know how to care for them, and they'd throw dried ant eggs in the water with them. The turtle would look up at them like they're crazy because they'd never seen a dried ant egg before in their life. And generally, unfortunately, most of them would starve to death or die of disease. Some, however, did not die. And this is just a medium-sized one. They get a lot bigger than this. People don't realize that when they start out something the size of a quarter, a little bit bigger than a quarter. So this critter will eventually, this is a big female, it's going to be a big female. She will eventually get to be about that long. When they get to be that size, okay, people don't realize that you need a very large tank to keep them happy, and they also tend to get a little crotchety and mean as they get older, much like people. Okay, so they tend to start snapping at you. So what do people do? They don't want to kill their pet, so they take the turtle out to the nearest waterway, dump it in, and say, have a good life. Problem is, these guys share the same habitat, have the same habitat requirements as a lot of our native turtles that compete for nesting spots, etc., etc. As a consequence, it looks like they are starting to cut into our native turtle populations. We're still doing studies on that and trying to figure out exactly what the relationship is, but it's not looking good right now. So I would ask you to please, they still give these things away at carnivals in Pennsylvania, it's still legal to own them in Pennsylvania. But I would ask you to use good judgment and don't take a red at your slider home. Lots of other better pets out there.
Where are they native?
They are native to the southern United States. They come up as far north as West Virginia. These are the ones that you see in the carnivals, etc., are grown under horrendous conditions down in Louisiana on turtle farms where the conditions are terrible. They're filthy, they feed them all kinds of disgusting stuff. And as a consequence, they can carry a lot of disease like salmonella, etc., because of the food that they get on these turtle farms. They're just all around not a good thing to have as a pet. There's a lot better animals out there to have as pets. Okay, this little guy. Don't you go shy on me? You've never gone shy on me. This is a musk turtle, or also known as a stink pot, and they're known as that because around the carapace there are gland openings where if they're disturbed by a predator, they will secrete a chemical that stinks like the living daylights. Okay? So this is essentially the skunk of the turtle world. Very effective at warding off predators, and I guarantee it wards off humans too, because I've been nailed by one of these things, and man, it takes a while to get that stuff off you. And it does stink. Okay? So that's the stink pot. Musk turtle. Vance was talking about males and females. This is the most common turtle in Pennsylvania. Painted turtle. People will come up to me and say that they saw so-and-so, so-and-so, and they thought that they saw bog turtles and all kinds of things and make reports, and in actuality, after you talk to them, for the most part, what they've seen are painted turtles. Very common in Pennsylvania. This is the male. And notice one thing. Notice the difference in the shell height. These are roughly the same age. Okay, the female has a much higher domed shell. Why do you think she has to have that big high domed shell? What's her purpose? Eggs, right? That's a big storage chest for eggs. So they have a higher dome shell because it allows more room for eggs. Okay? Vance was talking about the front claws. See how long the front claws are on this guy? And she has very short ones. Well, that's it. Thank you very much. Okay? Okay, hers are much shorter, and I was hoping he would put his tail out, which he's not going to do. But his tail, I'm not doing her. His tail comes out to about here. Okay, her tail comes out to about here. That's it. You can see a little bit of a concavity in him. He's not quite as much as some of the other turtle species. She's very flat and actually a little bit rounded on the bottom. All right, painted turtle. In fact, these are Midland painted turtles. We also have Eastern painted turtles in Pennsylvania. The way you tell the difference is if you look at the scutes, okay, which are actually the top layer of the carapace, okay, the ribs on the Midland painted turtle do not line up with the ribs on the top ones. Okay, so if that's offset, it's a Midland painted turtle. Eastern painted turtles, they line up right across the shell. Okay, subtle difference, but that's how they tell, the easiest way to tell them apart. Speaking of scutes, the turtle shell is composed of several layers. As Vance had said, turtles have been around for over 200 million years. They saw the dinosaurs come. That's how ancient turtles are. Over that time, they evolved the shell. The shell is actually a fusing of the ribs and the spine into, where'd you go? Okay, there's the spine. Here are the ribs out here. They flattened out and grew together and fused, producing this real hard surface for protection. The top layer of the carapace is composed of keratin, which is the same stuff your fingernails are composed of. If you feel that, you can pass that around. It's very flexible, very soft. Okay, you got lots of it. This is from these turtles, and they shed like crazy, so I got plenty of them. Okay, it's just like your fingernail, very soft and flexible. Made out of the same darn stuff. Okay, moving on. Now we get into what is more or less a semi-aquatic turtle, although as Vance said, it generally spends more time on land, but you'll never find a wood turtle too far from water either. Okay, they will spend considerable time in water. This is a mature female wood turtle. Note the kind of humped plastrums. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. And then finally, why am I using the hand sanitizer between Hamlin turtles? That's right, we don't want to spread disease. If one of these turtles is carrying something, we don't want to spread it among the other turtles. Right? Okay, and then finally the most terrestrial, by far, in Pennsylvania is the box turtle. Vance talked about that at length. Here's the hinge, and if this one wasn't so inquisitive, it won't close up. But that's literally, see how that moves? They will literally close their shell up. If the predator comes after them or whatever, they will literally close up tight.
This guy does not have a hinged plastron. He can't close up tight. He's got some visible injuries that he survived, but missing a leg and he's a stump. You can see his tail here. He's just got a stump for a tail. That was probably one big bite. One fell swoop, maybe a raccoon got a hold of him, raccoon or a fox. Those are the top predators. But it's all healed up now, so he's fine. But he wouldn't do too well out in the wild. He'll still probably survive without the tail and the foot. I've seen them before out there with just one leg. Wood turtles, I don't see them on land. I see them in the water. For whatever reason, they feel safer in the water because they can get away from predators quicker if they stay in the water when they're missing one of their bones. This one will probably spend the rest of his life.
One thing to note is that these turtles that we have, we don't go out and catch them in the wild. Most of these are confiscations that waterway conservation officers like Officer Dunbar go out, and in fact, Vance is probably one of the top guys for going out and busting the bad guys. We catch people, they illegally poach turtles. That puts a huge drain on our turtle populations. Some of the turtles that we have in Pennsylvania, as they become more and more rare, can sell for horrendously high numbers, which I'm not going to tell you about, overseas in particular. Overseas buyers like a lot of our turtles, so poachers will go in and literally wipe out an entire colony just to sell the turtles overseas. And they get really big bucks for them, quite frankly. That puts a heck of a drain on them. So these turtles, almost without exception, are confiscations. And we'll keep them. We can't release them back into the wild because after 30 days, a turtle cannot be released back in the wild. And that's for disease prevention reasons. Okay? In that 30 days in captivity, there's too good a chance that the turtle could have picked up some kind of viral or bacterial infection that could carry out into the wild population, and we don't want that happening. So after 30 days, we get them. And so we use them for educational purposes like this.
My snapper is wild. I caught him yesterday.
But it should be noted also that snappers have a fairly high take number also. There's actually a fishery allowed for snapping turtles. That's the only turtle, right? That there's a fishery for.
That's commercially developed legal.
Right.
You have to have a commercial snapping turtle permit if you want to sell snapping turtles, any parts, their meat, their shells, anything. You have to have a commercial snapping turtle permit for that. They're the only turtle that you're legally allowed to sell if you have that commercial snapping turtle harvest permit. And there is a market, unfortunately, a worldwide market for snapper meat and snapper parts. They're not in Pennsylvania. We don't have like an aquaculture permit for snapping turtles. That may change in the next few years. That's been discussed. Down south in the southern states, yes, there are turtle farms. There are a lot of turtle farms over in Asia. And that's where part of the problem is. A lot of our turtles are being harvested and they're being sold over to Asia, especially as babies. The nests are being raised and the young are being sold off for these turtle farms.
Okay, our timekeeper is giving us the hairy eyeball. So I want to open it up. Are there any other questions that you all might have about turtles? No takers.
We must have done our job, Bob.
We did such a heck of a good job. You have absolutely no questions about these really neat critters. Okay, in that case, with the remaining time that we have, we thank you for coming and for being such a good audience and being so attentive. If you'd like to come up and if you want to touch one of the turtles or whatever, please feel free to, so long as we're there with you. The kids can come up and touch them if they want. The only thing I demand is if you touch a turtle, hand sanitizer afterwards. That's for your protection and for the turtle's protection. Okay? Thank you very much.
Logan, do you want to?
What do you want to say?